Asking for a meaningful gift. There is no doubt about it, asking a person to give meaningful support to the cause is where the rubber meets the road. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, I have seen a lot of great cultivators, a lot of great listeners, a lot of great golf players over the years who have worked for me, and they do a great job of developing a relationship with people, but we get zero money in the door because they can't ask. And it doesn't matter how good you are in listening to people, how good you are at developing a great friendship and a great relationship, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't ask, if you can't get down to the bottom line. And it's so, so important. And we have just seen literally, I could probably think of hundreds of individuals who've come through this ministry to be field reps and to be involved, and they can't ask. And it's just so disappointing. Remember, asking a person to give is doing something for them, not to them. This is not the last little bit where we stick that knife in and turn, or we extract something from them. That's not what we're talking about. This is doing something for them. You're getting to the point where you're giving them an opportunity to be part of a worthwhile cause, to be involved in something greater than they're involved in their normal lives. Why we do not feel comfortable in asking for financial support. Boy, self-image. How do I feel about myself? That's going to transfer over. If I am concerned about how they feel about me and what their reply means and what their response means, that's going to affect my ability to ask. If I'm concerned that they are going to say a two-letter word, no. If that's my whole image revolves around that I am worried they're going to reject me, then you've got a problem. If your proposal, your presentation is wrapped up in my self-worth, then that's a problem. Uncertainty. Are you uncertain about whether you know your proposal, whether you're going in there and that you can answer their questions? If you're worried that they're going to ask you a question that you don't have the answer to, that's going to hinder you. Beyond our comfort zone. Boy, ladies and gentlemen, going in to ask people, 25 years, I still get a little shaky when I go in on appointments. Poor past experience. You're afraid because maybe you've been rejected by this person in the past, or the person hasn't connected as well with you or the president of the ministry as you wished. Negative view of selling. Somewhere down the line, you got a poor or a wrong perception of selling. Madison Avenue, this approach where you're twisting arms. You've been in a situation where you felt like people locked the door until you made a decision, like you were coerced or you were guilted into something. If you've got a poor perspective on selling, then you're not going to be able to ask people. Barriers to making a quality appeal. The asker's gift to the cause has not been made. Questions or hesitations about the cause. Lack of confidence and ability to implement the program. Uncertainty of timing, a lack of prospect research. All these things will cause a barrier or a hindrance to you asking. And many times it deals with you just not doing your homework, not doing your research, not being able to go in and maybe even develop a set of questions that you would ask yourself if you were in their position, and then answering those questions. Because you can do that a lot of times with preparation, but too often individuals go into an appointment, an important appointment, and don't prepare. A good appeal includes urgency. In other words, it's got some kind of time frame to it. I would love for you to give your gift between now and 2042. Doesn't motivate someone. We've got a sense of urgency. We're hoping to start this project by January 1. If you can give your gift by October 1st of this year, that'll help us to really get the wheels in motion, get things moving so that we're ready and prepared to start by January 1. B, strong, concrete cause and need statement. It's got to be compelling. It's got to be something that someone says, you know what, I want to do this. I want to jump on this. You've given me a time frame, and you've given me something that's important. I want to do this. Let's do it now. Let's jump on this. Give them that strong sense. Defining the implication of result if need is not met. You've got to give them, you've got to say, if we don't do this by this particular time, if we don't reach these students, if we don't get in there and get these people at this particular time, we've got to strike while the iron's hot, and we've got to meet them when they're needed right now. Identifying what the potential givers felt needs. Again, have you listened to what they said? Are you connecting with them? Is there that sense that you are hearing what they're saying and that you're hitting that sweet spot? You're meeting their needs and giving them exactly what they want. As much as people would like to think they give logically, they really do give emotionally. But they need that justification. They need that backup. They need that information to say, I know in my gut I need to do this. And here's the backup, in a sense, to say, this is what I need to do. So it's so important. Qualifying who you will ask. Know your ministry. Does the person have an understanding at all of your ministry? Are they familiar with Campus Crusade? Then are they familiar with all the ministries or a particular part of that? You may be coming in from Here's Life Inner City. Do they know who Josh McDowell and the Family Life Ministry is? Do they know who Bill Bright is? Okay, great. We've got some understanding. Okay, let's get down. All right, you've got a good track record with Family Life. And Josh, let me tell you about another arm of that. Here's Life Inner City, and we're in the inner city, and we're a little bit different, but with the same values, the same tradition, the same history and heritage as those other ministries. Target your audience. Who are likely prospects of your ministry and projects? Target that. Go out to individuals. It would seem to me if I was in Student Venture that I would want to go to high school parents, correct? Parents of high school students. I mean, that would be the first place I'd want to go. They have an interest in at least one or more high school students, their kids, so there's that commonality there. So it would seem to me there's at least that first original bond. Well, tell me about your child in high school. Well, let me tell you what we're doing in high school. Okay, do those two mesh at all? Determine to what extent your prospect is aware of the need of your project or cause will address. Now, certainly it's important to do that beforehand. But don't be afraid to go in there if you know nothing about them. Go in there and say, tell me, do you have any experience at all with Campus Crusade for Christ? Are you familiar with what we're doing? Again, try and present to an individual open-ended questions as opposed to close-ended. Have you ever heard of Campus Crusade? Close. Yes. No. Okay, that doesn't lie. But tell me what you know about Campus Crusade for Christ. Be alert to political, economical, social, and cultural circumstances. Now, does that mean you don't ask someone for money? People are saying, I have ministries asking me all the time, have things changed this year because the economy is bad? Well, frankly, a great majority, a significant majority of ministries that I'm working with have seen their best year they've ever had. I haven't seen that affect that much in the giving. So we've got to realize that we don't get tossed around by the winds of what's going on in our society, because Christians will tend to weather out those storms because their motivation is different. If you're motivated by tax advantages and what you can do, that's going to change. Your interest in things may change based on the economy. When you're motivated by serving the Lord, by tithing, by giving because you have a burden for what the Lord has placed on your heart. Okay, schedule your call when it's convenient to the prospect. Make sure that you're asking them, is there a time that's better than others? And make sure you're scheduling it when you can talk to them. Give them some time. Now, I remember one time a ministry leader who didn't understand much about fund development. He said to me, now make sure that when we schedule this phone call, that we're scheduling an appointment, we're scheduling at least an hour and a half to talk to the person. I said, we're never going to get an hour and a half with a busy business person. That's just not going to happen. And so I said, well, I think we'll be fortunate if we get 20 minutes with a person. So an hour and a half, it's just not going to happen. So make sure that you're sensitive to those things. 12 items that make a quality appeal. Remember, the presentation for the right cause, to the right person, asking for the right amount, at the right time, in the right way. Onan 1:1. Asking power. Make sure that that you go in there with a strong positive approach to things. Understand that when you go in there, you are prepared to make the ask. Don't be afraid to go in there with a positive attitude. And there's times where you have to give your own self a pep talk and say, "This is, I'm prepared. I need to do this now. This is the time." Okay, credibility. You have hopefully you've got the credibility of Campus Crusade behind you. Hopefully you've begun to develop some credibility with the person. If you haven't, work to establish that credibility. That may be part of the appointment in going in there and making a quality appeal, is developing credibility with that person. Expectations. Make sure that when you're going in there that you have realistic expectations. I can tell you that your bosses and those people that you report to are going to have much higher expectations for those times than are even manageable. The life expectancy of a development person is 18 months. Hate to tell you that, but and one of the biggest killers is unrealistic expectations. Capability. What's the capability of the ministry to accomplish what you have promised the donor? Can you do what you promise? Make sure that that's part of that. Natural leanings. Begin to move those people towards that leaning that they had already. If they're leaning towards an interest in college students, get them further that way. Push them further so that they get closer to that. Timing. You've got to make sure that you present things properly. If you come in and you've known the person for a while, you may have known them from your Sunday school. Well, go ahead and take some time to talk a little bit about how's the wife, how's the kids, is everything going okay personally. But there's a time when you need to turn it on. You need to say, well, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm here to talk to you about the ministry of Campus Crusade for Christ. I'm here to tell you a little bit about Student Venture and how we work with high school students. So you go from the personal to the time when you have to shift over into the business mode. And it's so important that you do that. And when you ask is so important, and in what time. The first thing out of your mouth is not, Mr. Jones, thank you for giving me time. Would you be willing to give a gift of $10,000 to Campus Crusade for Christ? Not the best time before you get to know them, know anything about them. And we've talked about that. We can't use the excuse that we're in ministry, so we don't do things as professionally, or we don't do things as well, or with the same quality that you do. Hey, we're only in ministry. You can't expect a lot from us. Well, trust me, they're not going to want to give money to a ministry that's going to do it second rate. They're going to want to give ministry to somebody who's got their act together, and that's what they want. The sensitivity to circumstances. Understand, certainly if a person is going through a difficulty in their business, a no doesn't have to be a no forever. A no can mean not now. And cultivation, how much have you put into it? You can't expect a lot back if you haven't put much into the relationship. You know that. The way the ask is done. Did you go in there like a bull in a china shop? Did you offend him? Did you say something wrong? Did you criticize something? Did you forget the name of his wife after you spent a day at the ballpark with he and his wife? Whatever. You've got to make sure the way the ask is done is so important. And biblical understanding of stewardship. Are you applying the principles of that? And what is their understanding of stewardship? Do they understand the importance of how God is going to use them biblically? Making the appeal, preparation, planning for the solicitation. Do you think the best time to make a presentation is when your boss just gave you the proposal or gave you the project yesterday and you just all of a sudden just say, hey, I'm going to set up an appointment and walk into somebody's office? No. You want to prepare. You want to go through that proposal. Don't be afraid to go through it in the mirror, in front of the mirror, or with a colleague, or with another major donor. Prepare and plan. Go in there with a presentation that's crisp, that's planned, that they feel like you really have a great understanding of what's going on. If you can't do that, don't go in there, the appointment. Don't go in there just half-baked into an appointment. It's going to just be a mess. The visit. When you go in there, have you set up, have you done your homework? And getting in the appointment can sometimes be just as difficult as being in there. So be persistent. Continue to do your homework in trying to get that appointment. And then the presentation itself. Again, be prepared. And be prepared for things to change on you. You need to have at least 2 or 3 variations of your proposal. Not different proposals, but, okay, what's my short version? What's my long version? He tells me I've got 20 minutes with him. You walk in there and say, you know what, I thought I had 20, I've got 10. Are you prepared to give him a 10-minute proposal? You better be prepared. You want to make sure in your presentation that you are certainly highlighting the need that's out there. What are we going to bring to people? You know, if we've got boxes of love, if we've got, you know, if we're providing physical things that are going to help them, food, clothing, materials, whatever it is, that's what we do. And what are our methods? What are our strategies? And then from there, here's what we want to accomplish. Here's what we're currently doing. Here's what we hope to do. If we had $20,000, we could be doing this. If we had $100,000, we could be doing this. And then you stop and you wait for the response. And I can tell you that if you cut things off at this point, the next words out of your mouth are going to be, oh, Mike, you know, I guess I know I said 10,000. I didn't mean 10. Actually, I can tell by the look on your face, you probably would go better with 5. No, actually 1. You know, actually, it's getting a little hot in here. Would you mind if I took a break for a while? I'll be back in about 10 days or 12 days or so. In our minds, we're thinking the worst. We're thinking, I can't believe I just did this. I sat in that stupid room and listened to Larry and Jim tell me I should challenge people. Now I'm here. This was the biggest mistake of my life. I should never have done this. This guy is going to blow me out of the water and say no. And in all likelihood, the donor is thinking, let's see, man, this is something great. I probably could shift the money from my money market to my business fund, and actually I could probably give a little bit more than 10. I might even be able to give 20 if I could do this. And you're thinking the worst. Oh man, I can't believe I did this. Sweat's pouring down your face. Just wait, listen to hear what he says. Now you might say, you know what, Jim? Boy, 10's a little high. I'm not really sure about that now. You say, you know, Mr. Jones, I understand. What number would be something you'd feel more comfortable with? Handling the response. If it's yes, boy, Mr. Jones, terrific. You have made a great investment. I can tell you that the impact of your gift will be eternal. I mean, there's going to be some real lives changed as a result of that. Let me find out from you, how's the best way for me to get that gift from you? Do you want to write that today, or would you like me to come pick it up in the next couple days? Or if the answer is, if not sure, not sure about this, what your response is, well, Mr. Jones, what would help what can I do to help to clarify that a little bit more with you? Does it have to do with the gift size? Would it be money or timing? What would help you with that? Or if no, again, does no mean no, never, or does no, which in all likelihood, it means no, not this time. Now, following up the appeal, you want to make sure that you take the initiative on that. If the person says, I'm going to have to think about that and get back to you, I usually say something like, you know, Mr. Jones, I travel a lot, and rarely am I able to catch all my calls. How about if I go ahead and call you? How about if I call you in the next 7 days? How about if I call you on Tuesday at 8 a.m.? Will that work for your schedule? You never, ever, ever want to leave it in their court. You always want to put it back on yourself.